Hello and welcome to another edition of Sports Today. Of course, you know, a whole lot has been happening through the world of sports generally, and I know a whole lot of Nigerians are really happy as to what happened yesterday. Well, this is another time where we talk sports and everything that has to do with sports globally. I'm your host, Ebere Ugonna, and this morning is a special morning because we've got lots of important guest in the house today who's going to be talking more on sports, what's happening around the world, especially we know what's happening in Russia right now, the World Cup going on, and a whole lot of stories, a whole lot of reactions, and we are going to be knowing more when we hear from our guests in the studios this morning. Well, to start, I have in the studios Mr. Mark Okoye. He is the Commissioner for Economic Planning. Mr. Mark, good morning.
Good morning.
Welcome to the show.
Good morning, Ebere. Thank you very much.
All right. We also have in the studios Mr. James Eze. Welcome to the show.
Good morning, Anambra.
And finally, we have Mr. Phillips. He's actually a sports analyst, Mr. Phillips Balepo. Welcome to the show.
It's my pleasure.
And you can actually see on their faces this morning, there's this joy and happiness radiating on their faces this morning. Well, you'll get to know why this morning. We'll be starting with the game yesterday, Moses Brace. Of course, yesterday Nigeria played Iceland, and a whole lot of us were actually anticipating that the game was actually going to, come out in favor of Nigeria, and it actually turned out to be so. We're going to be starting this morning with Moses Brace. Yesterday, Musa had 2 goals for the Super Eagles, and of course, that victory was very important. Now, I'm going to be starting with you, Mike. What would you have to say about that game yesterday between Nigeria and Iceland? And of course, Musa coming out as the star of that game.
I mean, first of all, as a fan of football, I've been watching football for the last 25 years. Nigeria, you also have to have a style. You have to learn to watch Nigeria. And what I mean by learning to watch Nigeria is the Nigerian national team, they play their best football under pressure. And that's essentially what we saw in this tournament. So yesterday's game, we knew, the entire continent knew that we had to win that game. And we came in and everyone played their position. The biggest problem we had in our first game was the mere fact that you had Mikel, who should be playing in number 6, was playing number 10. You had this gentleman, Moses, who should be playing at right back or right wing back and was playing attacking. But now all of them have played in the positions where they've built core competence in their careers. But to now ended up with Musa, what Musa did yesterday, Musa is our World Cup hero. Musa has 4 goals in about 4 games, I think, for World Cup. In 3 games. In the last World Cup, he scored 2 goals. Today, again, he scored 2 goals. Those goals were excellent from a technical standpoint. The first cross wasn't for him, if you know. Victor Moses didn't make that cross.
Okay, before we actually come to the press secretary, do you think it was actually the reason why we lost to Croatia in our first game?
Yes. No, definitely. The reason why we lost to Croatia in our first game is that, first of all, players were out of position, number 1. And number 2, the tactical formation that we used for that game did not complement Croatia. But in this game, we went with a 3-5-2. Which is where football is evolving to now. Every 10 years, there are formations that take over football. 10 years ago, it was 4-4-2. At some point, it became 4-3-3. Now we're in the era of strong defense, fill your midfield with players, and have fast attackers. And that is us playing to our strengths. Okay. And that's what we reverted to in this game yesterday. And that's why we saw a different result.
So that, okay, Mark, yesterday
You should have been a football coach.
So what would you have to say about the game yesterday?
It was a magnificent game of 2 halves. And, for the first time, Nigeria came to the party in the World Cup and signed off magnificently, in a manner of speaking. Because anybody who watched that game would have seen that we were actually not in the game in the first half. And we were all wondering whether we were headed the same way that we went down with Croatia. Okay. And then all of a sudden, I think Coach Roa must have spoken to the lads in the dressing room, because immediately they came into the second half. We saw a lot more aggression. We saw a lot more purpose to their play. We saw greater coordination. We saw a lot more verve. And I think Victor Moses was a little more purposeful in his runs, leading to that, cross that found Musa in the box. And Musa actually stunned the world in the sense that, to my mind, those 2 goals that Musa scored actually are the best goals of this tournament so far. Forget about Ronaldo's splendid displays. When you talk about goals that are very, very cinematic goals that will live in the memories of the world for a long time to come, you think of Musa's brace. And that, to me, it's something that the whole of Africa should be proud of, because this is a team that had been written off. I don't know what magic spell that they drank in the dressing room, because in the second half we saw an entirely different team, and they did the nation proud. And I'm optimistic that in the next game they will come out with all guns blazing, and Nigeria will be happy again.
All right, we'll be right back. We're going for a short break, and when we come back, of course, Philip will tell us what he feels about Nigeria, Iceland yesterday. We'll be right back. All right, welcome back to Sports Today. We've been having fun in the studios, and just to let you know that this program is actually, you can interact with us by calling the numbers on your screen, and of course, make your contributions to today's discussion. And like I said before we went for the break, Philip, yesterday Musa actually had a brace for the Super Eagles. What would you have to say about that, knowing fully well that during the first half of that match, Nigeria as a team were nowhere to be found?
You never believed in them. I did. And I told you. So you owe me after this, you take me out. So that's another talk. Because I believed in this team. And I told you. That we have a slang we use. That in the midst of confusion, guys say, and that is the Nigerian slang. That's how we play this game. Because that confusion comes. That is when we thrive. And it defines Nigeria. I use the language organized disorder. Remember? I told you. So this is what happens all the time. That first half, James said that we were not in the game. We were in the game. The only thing we did is that we set a record which had been there for like 2 or 3 years. For the whole first half, no shot at goal.
It wasn't.
Then we made 16 attempts, but no shot at goal.
That's not a good one.
No, that's what I'm telling you. That is the spirit of Nigeria. Scatter things, then get them repaired.
Really?
Go through our history in the World Cup, how we play. If you want to beat Nigeria, if you don't beat them in the first 15 minutes of the game, you have given them the chance to survive. That is the game. You understand? When we lost to Croatia, we lost because we were confused. There was no communication between the defenders, the goalkeepers, and the players. You understand? That second goal, Ekong saw it, but he didn't see Balogu, that Balogu had gotten the ball. So I think that's what happens.
Mark, looking at Nigeria's game against Croatia,
yes,
Nigeria as a team were not good to me, because watching the match, you could actually where is this coming from? But looking at the game yesterday against Iceland, you would say something happened. What was that change?
I think you have to listen to the remarks by our coach, Rohan, what he said. He made an interview yesterday and he says, it is good, I'm glad that we won. And we won with players playing their right positions that they understand, positions that they play for their clubs. This is what he said. So that already, for an avid football fan, someone who's been watching football for a long time, you can read between the lines. For me, what that said is there's player power versus also the coach power. Okay. And this happens at club football, it happens at national team football. Okay. So it was definitely clear that there were pressures. Mikel played number 10 throughout the qualifiers, but he's not a number 10. He was a number 10 before he moved to Chelsea. Cool. Jose Mourinho turned him into a number 6.
You're right.
This gentleman, when he played at Wigan, Moses was a right winger. Okay. But Conte has transformed him into an absolutely overlapping right wing back. Okay. And that's what he has played for the last 2 years. Okay. And this is essential, but what tends to happen is when they come to the national team, they have big egos. These guys are taking home 35 million naira a week. Okay. And they're in the same lineup with young men who are on 200,000 naira a month. the local-based players. So there's this sort of. So, but I think what we saw in that game is the coach taking it back and saying, "This is essentially what I want. This is the formation I believe that would beat these guys," and players listening to his tutelage.
So would you say that against Croatia, it was more of the players making the decision? Because if he has said yesterday that he was happy that every player was playing in their rightful position,
yes,
and it wasn't like that against Croatia, would you say it was the players making the decision? Because we know that the coach has the final say. So what went wrong?
No, coach has the final say. But in today's world, there's something called player power. And player power is also, when you have a situation where 4-5 players are earning about 2-3 times what the coach earns. So he sits in the dressing room and gives his speech, halftime speech, gives his opening speech, but they go to the pitch and these players are the worst.
You bring out the best in you, you know yourself.
Exactly. So that's really what it is. But it was clear that what Rojo had and what our coach had in that game, he also had public support. If you go on any social media platform, even Jose Mourinho on Russia television talked about how badly Mikel played and why he played out of position. Said the same thing for Victor Moses. Every Nigerian said this, people who watch football. So at that point, even Mikel knew, even going into that game as a captain, that he had been played out of position. So everybody had to revert back to status quo. And status quo is what you understand better. And that's why we saw this result.
All right, just to let you know that the numbers are on your screen. Call us and let's hear your reactions about yesterday's match. Of course, you know it's actually a good story or good news for the Super Eagles and Nigeria in general, because we have hope of going to the second round. James,
yes, please.
Would you say that with the performance of yesterday's game, Nigeria is sure of qualifying from that group?
I think it's too early to make that prediction because what we saw yesterday.
All right, we have a caller. Let's take this call. Hello, good morning.
Hello, good morning.
Good morning to you. Your name and location.
Yes, I'm James Eze speaking from Oka.
You're James Eze from Oka.
Yes.
All right, good, my brother. James,
We must have a question for
Are you sure he knows?
No, he said his name is James Eze. He's calling from Oka.
Yes.
Good morning, everybody.
Good morning.
Yes. My name is Sheikh. Good morning.
Good. He knows. Good morning, my brother.
Yes, thank you. So, my brothers, I'm very, very happy as of yesterday from our team. If they can continue like this, we will go far in this match. So, I only say congratulations to them. And let them continue like this. I'm very happy. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, thank you so much for calling. He says he hopes they continue like this.
Yes.
Are you actually saying something before the call?
Yes, I was actually saying that if Nigeria will make it to the next round of this tournament, to my mind, it's down to the type of individual brilliance that we saw Mohamed Musa bring to the game yesterday evening. You know, of course, the pep talks that the lads received in the locker room played a great deal of role.
Let's take this call. Hello, good morning.
Okay.
Hello, good morning.
Good morning to you. Your name and location.
My name is Daniel. I'm calling from Oka.
Hello, your name and location.
Daniel from Oka.
Emmanuel from Oka. Okay,
Daniel.
go on with your contributions.
I want to say good morning to the entire team in the studio, including the SDS of Chief Governor, Mr. James Eze.
Good morning, my brother.
The truth is that yesterday was awesome. And I like how to their second team. Because the first half was, they were so confused. They don't really know what they were doing. But I saw entirely different team at the second half, and I have reason to say I'm in Nigeria again.
We share your feelings.
All right, thank you.
Thank
My
you.
name is Daniel, not Emmanuel.
Okay, Daniel.
All right, Daniel, thank you so much for calling. He said he had a reason to call himself a Nigerian.
After the second half.
After the first half, a whole lot of people were.
So after the first half, he was a British man.
You know,
or
I
a
share these
Brazilian.
views because in the first half we had about 3 corners in less than how many minutes? 5 minutes, and we saw we saw the best of our goalkeeper, Uzoho. Uzoho made quite a number of fantastic saves that kept us in the game.
We'll come back to Uzoho and his achievements so far.
All right.
Philip.
Yeah.
We'll actually go into the fixtures and results and of course table, during this World Cup tournament. Now, yesterday was remarkable because Super Eagles actually got their first win against Iceland. Now they have Argentina to play next week Tuesday. Looking at that match next week Tuesday, of course, what would you have to say? Because you are always optimistic that Nigeria will come out top.
Not always optimistic. Remember I told you that Croatia match was going to be our hardest match because of their tactical discipline, which we lack. We have the skills. Do we have the discipline? No, we don't. It's like a Swiss team. The Switzerland team is highly tactical. So
yesterday Brazil played Costa Rica.
Took them 8 minutes to come alive. 8 minutes for Brazil to beat Costa Rica, to score their first goal. After the match, Neymar started crying. What was he crying? That he couldn't.
Nobody could actually understand what he went through. There was also Neymar's first goal for Brazil, and it's been quite a while.
After that penalty appeal, which the VAR rejected.
Yes,
and he came back and.
So looking at the Brazilian team, Mark, what would you have to say? Of course, they're the favorite.
Yes,
they're the favorite. So what would you have to say?
This World Cup?
Yes, no, of course. Every World Cup, we know that Brazil actually come to the party, and of course they come to do very well in the party. What would you say? Because their first match, they drew their first match, and yesterday they were opportune to go home with 3 points. Do you see Brazil actually being a force to reckon with in this World Cup?
No, I think so, and you have to say that simply because of the names you see that form part of that squad. Whether they are playing football that makes them look like a favorite, none of the usual favorites are playing football that make them look like a favorite in this competition. Go through it: Germany, Spain, Brazil, France. None of these teams are playing football that projects them as favorites. However, because of where they are and the sort of caliber of players they have. But with Brazil is quite interesting. What I've noticed from Brazil's 2 games in this tournament is typically Brazil plays samba football. Football for enjoyment, football, beautiful football. So they go attack in their numbers, and they don't technically, usually most times they don't focus too much on the defensive side of the game. But with this coach, Tite, when they defend, they switch to a 4-5-1.
Okay.
A 4-5-1. And if you notice that, it keeps them quite compact. They push the play to the wings. And remember, they have Miranda and they have Thiago Silva. 2 excellent centre-backs who are very good with their head. Mm-hmm. So what I've seen in this team and why I think they can go far, not necessarily going forward, but in their ability to be able to go score 1 goal, 2 goals, 2-1, and be able to hold that sort of result till the end of the game. That's what that's why I feel they will go.
Which is down to discipline too.
Yeah, discipline.
Discipline in your rear. It makes it very difficult for teams to really
penetrate.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
Okay, looking at yesterday again, Switzerland played Serbia. And of course, a whole lot of people were actually expecting a tough match, considering the fact that Serbia actually played their very first match and they won. Now, yesterday was a bad one for them because Switzerland had the better part of Serbia. What would you say about that game?
Well, to my mind, the entire World Cup so far, the games we've watched, we have seen a lot of surprises. It's been an amazing World Cup. Some people are beginning to think that maybe the standards of the game are beginning to improve. Some are also beginning to, so some see it as the normal thing that happens in a World Cup. It's a game of the possibles. You never know who will pop the next surprise. So this last night's game between those two, between Switzerland and it was pretty much clear. Like you had, was saying that the Swedes are a very neatly organized team. We could see a lot of tactical discipline. Yes. We could see that they hold on to their formations, and you could see players that are very capable of springing the surprise that you expect in a World Cup game. What a lot of people don't seem to remember is that this is a World Cup.
Okay.
In a World Cup, any player that is able to express himself to the max in a World Cup game stands out completely, which is the reason why so many people are putting down my hero, Leo Messi, for not coming to the party yet. Because if you can't do it in the World Cup game, then you can't do it anywhere else.
Yes. You know the truth about Messi.
Mm-hmm.
Messi reached his peak in the last World Cup. Don't forget. He took them to the final.
Yes.
And he did everything possible.
Everything.
They lost by what I call half a goal, not one full goal. That match. And after that, remember, he quit.
Yes. He left the game.
They forced him back. Now they forced him back and they couldn't live up to his expectations.
Yeah.
The loads are heavy. And then Ronaldo added more and the Western press killed it.
You see, what you just observed now is the reason why I keep looking at what Musa did yesterday. You know, it wasn't just that Musa grabbed a brace. It was the manner in which Musa did it. The confidence, the swag, the skills on display, and then the artistry that we saw. I haven't seen a lot of great players round the goalkeeper up in a World Cup game.
I'd say every commentator has said that so far they have not gotten an international player who has displayed this. What Musa did yesterday.
But you know, there was something I was going to add concerning Messi. Yes, we all know that Messi was at
his best in the last World Cup.
At his best, at the pinnacle of football in his last World Cup. A standout best player. However, looking at the Argentine team, it now makes you understand that you can have individual brilliance, but you also require a team. The difference between Portugal and Argentina, those squads are very similar. Yeah. But the difference is that there is a team that is supporting Ronaldo.
And they believe in him.
There's a team supporting Ronaldo.
But they don't believe in
when you look at the Argentine team, that is not a team.
Okay, we'll come back to that. Let's go.
And the coach has a lot to blame. The coach carries a lot
That
to
is not a coach.
Yeah, that's
we'll actually have to start analyzing these teams one after the other. Let's go to the groups, you know, in this World Cup. Group A, we have Russia, Uruguay, Egypt, and Saudi Arabia. Now, Russia has played 2 games. Uruguay has played 2 games. Russia played 2 games with 6 points. Of course, they won their 2 games. Uruguay played 2 games with 6 points, also won their 2 games. Egypt has played 2 and won nothing with 0 points. And Saudi Arabia has played 2 and won nothing. We also have a goal difference for Russia to be 8, Uruguay 2, Egypt 1, Saudi Arabia none. In this group A, basically, of course, before I
told you, I looked at the 8 groups, I told you there are groups of death. The groups of death are the Nigerian group D. And the last group, you will hardly decide who qualifies from that group. The rest of the group, you can close your eyes and take your 2.
Why would you say Nigeria's group is a group of death? Is it because you're a patriotic Nigerian?
No, because Croatia is a tight country to beat. Because Argentina is a difficult country. We've been to World Cup 5 times before now. Argentina has met us 4 times.
Let's see Group B. Group B, we have who do we have in Group B? Let's see the groups. Groups B.
Okay, Group B. Yes. Spain.
All right, we have Spain, Portugal, Iran, Morocco. Now, Spain has actually played 2 matches with 4 points. Portugal 2 matches with 4 points. Iran 2 matches with 3 points, and Morocco 2 matches with 0 points. Now, looking at this group is actually a tough group. What would you have to say about this group? And finally, we know who's
it's not a tough group. Sorry.
So, Mark, what would you have to say about this group and who's qualified from that group? Of course, we know.
No, it's clear that I believe I put my money on Spain and Portugal eventually qualifying.
I flow with you.
However, you must give credit to what Carlos Queiroz has done with the Iranian squad.
Okay.
Anybody that has followed what he's done, he should even be given coach of the tournament already.
Looking at the Spanish team you were rooting for, this is their second game. They had a tight game. Of course, they narrowly escaped Iran, 1-0, and their first game also was same thing with Portugal, 3-3. Do you think the Spain team has anything to offer?
In 2010, when the World Cup was held in South Africa, this is how the Spanish started the World Cup.
Lost their first match.
Lost the first match. Next match 1-0. Next one 2-1. it was not until knockout stage that they truly started playing football that took them, that propelled them to the final.
And I think you have to remember that this Spanish team had a little problem. Their coach left about 3 days.
2 days to their first match.
Okay, after announcing for Real Madrid.
So far they have done incredibly well. I have so much confidence in Spain making it beyond the next stage of the tournament. Because when you see that team, it's almost a complete team. We saw what they did to Portugal. Actually, they took Portugal apart. If it wasn't for
the individual brilliance,
self-discipline. That's what survives Portugal.
That's it. But in the Spanish team, you see a complete team. They have everybody working for the next person. Yes.
Okay.
And you see cohesiveness. When Spain attacks, you know they are attacking. And everybody works together. And so when they are defending, you see it. You know, they have a lot of creativity in the middle.
Okay.
With the Manchester City, what's his name? David
Silva,
pulling the strings.
Isco,
Isco has been amazing. You know, very, very pleasing in the eye when he plays. You know, makes all those
very intelligent footballer.
Extremely brilliant.
Spain is a wonderful sight to watch in this tournament.
Don't forget one fact.
Before we go for a short break, let's talk a bit about C. Ronaldo's heroics in this World Cup. Now, looking at the group, Portugal, Spain. Of course, this is actually the very first time C. Ronaldo has scored 3 goals against the Spanish team. Now, looking at C. Ronaldo and Messi, of course, they were the 2 big players. Everybody was actually looking forward to the World Cup.
That was his 52nd hat-trick. That guy is something else. 52nd.
51, right?
Yeah.
Tell us more about Ronaldo in this tournament. Has he really lived up to his expectation?
For this World Cup, yes. But you see, like I keep saying, I like Messi, but I think I love Ronaldo. I love Ronaldo because he is charismatic. Messi has refused to get a very good PR company to package him.
Oh, all right.
That's outside of the game.
We'll go for a short break.
It's also inside of the game.
We'll go for a short break now. We'll go for a short break, and when we return, we'll actually get to know more and more happening in Russia 2018. Join us again. All right, that was Ahmed Musa, the hero of yesterday's game against Iceland, and they were actually asking him how he felt about the match, and of course, what are Nigeria's chances of going through in the group. Now, looking at Musa is 25. You know, I was reading through yesterday, and I was like, Musa 25 years. So of course, he's got lots of years ahead of him. And do you really see Musa as someone who is really going to take Nigeria as a team, you know, to greater heights in the footballing game?
I think it has to do a lot with him. He would decide.
All right, let's take this call. Hello, good morning.
Hello.
Hello, good morning. All right. Hello, good morning.
Good morning.
Good morning to you. Your name and location.
I'm Namdi from Enugu.
Namdi from Enugu.
Yeah, the first person I called yesterday. That's why you people like that will win. My two. Did I not say it?
You said so.
Yeah, you said so. You've forgotten that we were together when you said it.
Yes, I said it, but you people don't believe me.
I believed.
I said it. It's supposed to give my accolade. I need some accolade.
Accolade.
You get your accolade. We'll give you that some accolade.
You get your accolade, brother.
Some accolade. I need some
After
accolade.
we qualify, you get accolade. You will get accolade for one win.
I need some accolade.
All right, thank you so much for calling. He actually said he expected the win, and of course, I don't know who you were actually talking to who didn't believe you. We here believe you. All right, let's move on. Group C, we have of course, Group C was actually very, very dicey because a whole lot of strong countries in Group C. You look at France, Denmark, Australia, Peru. And Philip was talking about Nigeria being in a group of death. We have France.
There
France
is no group of death.
Two matches.
Australia will always come
two
to
matches with 6 points. Denmark 2 matches with 4 points. Australia 2 matches with a point, and Peru 2 matches with no point.
Australia is always a visitor at the park. They come and go. That is their history. We know that.
Yes.
Denmark is a very strong European side.
Yes, yes.
Peru is also one of the contenders, but a visitor also at the park. So it's left
Denmark
for
almost always qualifies
Don't
for
forget
knockout.
that. History has a way
Denmark
of
always historically
when you
always
actually
qualifies
look
for
at
knockout.
this,
Yes.
at this group, you would assume it's going to be an easy win for France. So
Definitely.
I'm not actually surprised that France is topping the group.
But France hasn't had it very easy. Let's be very sincere.
Like
No,
I said,
because
the
everybody's
main
not.
contenders are not playing.
Yes.
France is a
Everybody's not.
contender.
Look at Germany. You know, they take their time to come into the tournament. You know, look at Spain. Look at even Brazil.
You know, one thing we keep forgetting
You know,
for this particular year, things have changed. Now, Neymar plays with an ordinary player from Africa. So it wasn't like last three or four World Cups that you come to the field, you see
You
somebody
first
like
you'll be starstruck before you
see
start
Messi,
playing.
you start admiring him. Before you finish the admiration, he has scored a goal.
No, don't you remember before now? Our
We
boys, when they used to do.
Maradona in '94.
When you start-
and he scored a free
Let's
kick
take this
by-
call. Hello, good morning.
Good morning.
Good morning. Your name and location.
This is Martin Sachimo calling from Mariam.
Martin's calling from Ibariam. Okay, Martins, go ahead with your contributions.
When people comment that Messi is a good player, I don't tell them that Messi is not good. With my reasons are, if I thought Messi is that good, he should leave Barcelona to go and play for another team and prove himself.
He's another
If he's that good. Then, because Ronaldo has moved away from Manchester United to Real Madrid to prove himself, then how could you do it in the World Cup and prove himself with 4 goals so far? At least Messi has not been able to score even a single goal in World Cup for now. And that was the same thing that happened in 2010. I don't even know how people rate Messi over Ronaldo. But to me, Ronaldo is a better player than Messi.
All right.
Thank you.
Thank you very much,
He's so
Martin.
crazy.
Oh, well, we're not doing the Ronaldo Messi comparison.
Yes,
We'll
yes.
That one will never end. We'll be here for two
We're not doing
months.
the comparison.
Thank
but
God
it's-
he said to him, it's not that he's a universal.
Yes. All right, then we'll be moving to the next group. Group D, Croatia, Nigeria, Iceland, and Argentina. Croatia has played 2 matches with 6 points. Nigeria 2 matches with 3 points. Iceland 2 matches with a point. And Argentina 2 matches with a point. Now, this is the group Philip describes as the group of death.
Now, can I land? See, Argentina we know. The devil you know. Croatia you don't know. And Croatia has like 5 players who have played the finals of the Champions League. Then the Argentines you've played in
Croatia has
the
the
last
best.
friendly at least
They have
sells
the-
your confidence to you. And then you know that Iceland came to Europe, it was a Cinderella affair, but they got almost to the top. So you have to fear them. So there is that element of fear in this group.
Philip, by the way, I understand it was this Iceland team that stopped the Netherlands from making it to the World Cup.
Of course.
So if you can imagine,
And it's
This
been a while.
was the
Iceland
Iceland team that went all the way to, is it quarterfinals?
Quarterfinals.
Yes.
In Euros.
In Euro, yes.
But the beauty about this Iceland team is that 8 men in that starting team.
Medical doctors.
No,
Are
they
working.
they started in 2010.
Okay.
No, they've been together
This team
for a
has been
long
together
time.
for 8 years.
But
Yes,
remember,
together.
they are not professionals.
They understand.
Because there's no professional league in Iceland.
Yes.
What you have is just semi.
No.
And then the goalkeeper is a film director. The
Yes,
coach
yes.
is the
One
coach,
person is a fireman.
The coach is a
But
dentist.
Sigurdsson is a Premiership.
One is a salt
Yes.
seller. He shot to a
But
trainer.
now, but because of what
Or a
they've done,
trainer.
I mean, the whole Iceland, that's another case study of how they've been able, how you can put a team of young men
All right,
together and make them successful.
let's go to the next group. Let's go to the next group. Group E, Brazil, Switzerland, Serbia, and Costa Rica. Brazil with 2 matches with 4 points. Switzerland 2 matches with 4 points. Serbia 2 matches with 3 points, and Costa Rica 2 matches with no points. And this is actually a very tough group: Brazil, Switzerland, Serbia, What would you have to say? Finally, we know who's coming out tops on that group. But would you say Brazil has really performed very well? 4 points in 2 games.
No, they've not.
Looking at the Brazilian squad,
they've not fulfilled their potential. But like I said,
Switzerland
it's in line with the trend of the 2018 World Cup. Yes. The main contenders are starting off slow, and historically, most times it takes some time to settle. You start to typically see good football in World Cup at a knockout stage when it's do or die. Right now, from this, you can say Brazil is going to qualify, and they will qualify as leaders. And Switzerland is going because Brazil meets Serbia.
Yeah, I think what naturally happens, just like Mark pointed out, is great teams take their time to get into the spirit of the tournament. But they may struggle in the early stages, but they still make the mark,
and they build up,
and they begin to build up. We're here to see the football that we really want to see of this World Cup.
This World Cup.
We've only seen one.
All right, we're going to see
who is the one? Portugal.
Thank you.
Yes,
that
Brazil Switzerland was another match.
The Spain-Portugal game came very close to what you might expect out of a semi-final.
Yes, exactly.
Yes.
That's a premature final.
I said it.
Let's take this call.
But
Hello,
the
good
best
morning.
performance in the World Cup thus far, the best half.
Hello, good morning.
The first half of Mexico. That's the best football I've seen.
Hello? Hello? Uh-oh. All right, let's go to Group F. Of course, we've got some great countries in Group F. Sweden, Mexico, Germany, and Korea Republic. Sweden has actually played 1 match with 3 points. Mexico won with 3 points. Germany won with no points. That's the defending champion. And Korea Republic won with no point. Now, this group, let's be very sincere, it looks like what we can call the group of death. Yes, we have a Sweden, a Mexico, a Germany,
tough teams, yes,
and of course Korea. And now Germany played against Mexico and lost their match. Nobody was actually expecting it, knowing fully well they are the defending champion. What would you actually say? Because their next match is going to be a defining factor if they have to progress from that group.
There's something I would like to understand. When we adjudge a group as a group of death, really, are we adjudging them? Are we judging them now that we have seen their first games or on paper? Because if you look at each of the groups on paper, you could actually, there's nothing really, you can't possibly say that this is a group of death.
Okay.
I will take a dive here.
Okay.
Germany will come out of this group.
Absolutely.
With Mexico.
Absolutely. No matter
And I'll put money on it if you want me to do it.
That's an easy one. They've only played one round of games.
A group of death.
It's not a group of death.
You
see, except the surprises of the World Cup you see in this group, but not that it's a group of death.
Philip feels that Germany will come out of this group. You feel same, Mark?
Yes, they will qualify.
It's very clear.
When they come out, you will qualify, right?
Yes, why would you say it's clear, James? Why would you say it's clear? Because looking at the German team against Mexico, it was a very interesting match.
Stunned.
But then again, they lost that match. They were
stunned.
Yeah,
I said so because Germany has a tradition, a history in the World Cup.
The most consistent nation in the world, football-wise.
When it comes to, when the occasion comes, the German team, the German machine, as they are fondly called, always rises to the occasion.
Okay.
And they are lucky, they've just had their first shock in the preliminary stages.
Okay.
So when it doesn't really matter much whether you win or lose at this very stage, I expect Germany to win their next 2 games and progress to the next stage of the competition. And then we begin to see the real fighting spirit of the Germans. It's very clear. I would be stunned if Germany doesn't make it to the next round.
Well, it's very possible that Germany don't make it to the next round. Let's see the next group we have here. We have Group G: Belgium, England, Tunisia, Panama. Belgium has played 1 match with 3 points. Of course, we're expecting that to happen. England 1 match with 3 points, also a favorite. Tunisia 1 match with no points, and Panama 1 match with no point. Now, what would you say in this group? This group is quite interesting. We've got England, we've got Belgium, we've got Tunisia.
It's self-explanatory now.
What's Panama doing in that group anyway?
That's their first World Cup.
This is their first World Cup.
Understand.
The entire country came to Moscow for this World Cup.
Looking at this group, of course.
Every time Iceland play, 4% of their population is in the stadium. You know that?
Yes.
4%.
Yes, we saw them.
Yes.
Every time they play, 4%, 3 to 4%.
Yeah.
Of their population, the country population.
Didn't you notice?
Iceland will fit into Anambra 15 times.
Iceland is 300.
50,000
Iceland is not up to it's not up to Oka town. You are talking of the whole of 300,000.
Okay, that group. Who comes out of that group?
It's two on top. Belgium and England. And for me, I think England is a team to watch, and we all know that by this weekend. And I'm putting money on that. Okay. England, we haven't seen England play football like this.
But they have some crop of good players.
Yes.
And what is exactly happening? We should look deeply. We all know what happened in late 90s, which inspired Germany and Spain to go and transform sports development in their states, moving from larger pitches to smaller pitches. In fact, there is a rule in Spain and Germany that at 11, until you get to 13, you go to a full pitch. Whereas the English, at 8, at 9, they throw you on a full pitch, 11-11. Okay. What that does, you find out that these boys from an early age know how to hit the ball from one side to the other. But in terms of keeping possession, in terms of building skills, they were not.
Okay.
So England caught up with that about 10 years ago. Okay. They started to invest in it.
You know already it's in Iceland?
Yeah, but now look at why am I saying that? Look at the outcome in English football now. Guy Southgate has brought the Guardiola template.
We're seeing
three at the back, five midfield and 2 attackers. Possession football, more skills, speed,
closing the gap,
compact, excellent football.
Let's say revolution, actually.
I'm telling you, that's
if you know
England has never played. Yes, they knock the ball, and they Heskey to bring the ball down, and then when it finishes or something like that. They once took Kevin Davis to World Cup. Kevin Davis on Bolton.
I want us to analyze.
It's a complete change, and it's actually, Mark, I thank you for bringing that up, because most of us watch England and watch English football, but we don't see the silent revolution that is going on. With the opening.
One, there is no English coach in the Premier League.
Yes.
Absolutely. Two, the percentage of English players in the Premier League is not up to 50%.
Yeah.
So you have brought the world to play in England. And according to Sam Hippier, you are selling a Skoda for Lamborghini. And they are buying. And we are buying.
They still don't meet up. I mean, England is a team, is a country everybody watches.
Don't forget that in this present English team, there are more foreigners than in any other country.
So do you believe that England will go find this top competition?
I'm putting my money on that. England is going to
they'll get to at least they'll get to quarterfinals.
To my mind, I think they will impress.
They'll get to quarterfinals.
They'll be pushing optimism too far to say that they'll get to the quarterfinals. Because I see the game will get tougher.
Let's see the last group. That's the
next
group H. We have Japan, Senegal, Poland, Colombia.
The African
Senegalese team.
Okay, now Japan has played 3 points. Senegal 1 game, 3 points. Poland 1 game, no point. Colombia 1 game, no point. Looking at it.
So who are the superpowers in this group, really?
No, when you look at this team, yes.
That's why
who are you rooting to go through?
First of all, I have to root for Senegal.
Senegal, are you rooting for Senegal because it's an African country?
First of all,
because we have another team. Colombia
has the best World Cup record from Africa.
Yes, first of all, because it's an African country.
Okay.
But second of all, I watched their first game. They played very good football.
Okay.
Senegal has been to the World Cup only once.
That is
2002.
Yes.
They played 5 matches. Won 2, drew 2, and lost 1. And they go to the quarterfinals. It's a record.
Yes, Boba Diop
and 98.
Great. It was France. It was France 98.
France 98, rather.
All right, let's see the fixtures for today.
2002, not France.
It's 2002.
No, because France, they beat France. They beat France as defending champions.
Okay.
This is their second World Cup. And France 98 was one of France. France came back to defend the cup. They beat them.
But these are lessons for us. The coach of Senegal was the captain of that Senegalese team.
Cisse.
Yes.
No, but
that coach is also the lowest paid coach in the whole of the World
Cup.
$175,000 is what he's earning. But look at what they are putting together.
No, you are good with because
But
you
look at
can
what
put
they are
it
putting
together.
together. Look at what the Senegalese team put together. Look at the play. They stunned Polish team.
And he has been
completely.
the coach for the past 2 or 3 years.
Yes.
You understand? There is stability. Look at Ghana.
Okay,
Ghana dissolved before went to the World
let's
Cup.
see what we have today. Belgium is taking on Tunisia at 1 o'clock this afternoon. Korea Republic will be taking on Mexico at 4 p.m. Germany will be taking on Sweden at 7 p.m. Okay, just to let you know that Belgium, Tunisia coming by 1 p.m. will be shown live. ABS will be showing it live at 1 p.m. Belgium versus Tunisia, and of course Germany versus Sweden at 7 p.m. We will be showing it live here. Now, looking at the match between Belgium, Tunisia, what would you say about that match, Mac?
I expect a win for Belgium. I think their first match they got criticism for being a bit too individualistic in their play. They have a great team, great crop of players, but they did not play as a team. And I think they will correct some of those issues in this game. And I see them winning with a good margin, at least a 2-goal margin.
Let's take this call. Hello, good morning. Hello, good morning. Hello, good morning.
Hello, good morning, sir.
Good morning to you. Your name and location.
This is Chukwuno from Ogidi.
Chukwu Nonso calling from.
Chukwudi from Ogidi.
Hello?
You said your name is Chukwude from.
Ogidi.
Yeah.
From Ogidi.
Chukwunomso.
Chukwu Nonso, where is Chukwu Nonso calling us from? Chukwu Nonso, where are you calling us from?
From Ogidi.
Ogidi, all right. Chukwu Nonso, go ahead with your contributions.
Ogidi.
Go ahead with your contributions.
Okay, my contribution is about yesterday game. Hello.
Yes.
Yes.
Yesterday game, this our new selection. This new formation is very good for Nigeria. I want this our coach to improve more. This our coach. Let them use this formation against Argentina. Because you see, against our Croatia, there's some problems we get is about the selection. That's why we play against Croatia. That's why I want this our new coach to use this our yesterday selection against Argentina on Tuesday.
Okay. All right. Thank you very much for calling. He says he likes the selection against Iceland yesterday. I was talking about the fixtures of today's match that will be coming your way. And of course, Belgium as a team, would you say they're actually doing what they intend to do in this World Cup, James?
Yeah, absolutely. Belgium has a great team, this World Cup. And
one of the best.
Yes,
actually.
they haven't really the depth of talent in the Belgian side.
All right, let's take this call. Hello, good morning. Hello, good morning.
Good morning.
Good morning. Please speak up. Your name and location. Okay.
Mm-hmm. So when you look at Eden Hazard,
okay,
Romelu
Lukaku,
De Bruyne,
Mertens. I think they actually have the best squad in this.
I tell you,
these guys,
in every position,
these guys
they have world-class
they are
players.
on top of their
Keeper,
game. They are their best
defense,
in the different
midfield,
clubs that they play
attack.
at this moment.
Why are you looking at me?
I remember telling you that I know Belgium will actually.
It feels like there's some internal rivalries.
I remember telling you that Belgium will go to the final.
They're not privy to. But Belgium, this might be their best World Cup outing.
I think so.
So far, if this team rises to the fullness of their height, because they have everything that it takes to get to the top, I think it will be difficult to stop.
Hello, good morning. Good morning. Let's take this call. Hello, good morning. Your name and location.
From Asaba. Onyeka.
All the way from Asaba.
Onyeka from Abagana.
Asaba.
Okay, Onyeka from Asaba. Go ahead with your contribution. Hello, Onyeka. We can hear you. Go ahead.
Ended.
Let's take this call. Hello, good morning.
Hello.
Hello, good morning. Your name and location.
Hello.
Hello, we can hear you. Speak up. You can also speak in Igbo if you call us, if you probably cannot make do with the English. You just say something about Belgium having the best team.
The form team of the tournament. It's Belgium, to my mind. You know,
I agree with you.
Yes, I see.
I told that Belgium and Croatia will get to semi-final. I don't know the other two.
Croatia semis. That's a big one. That's a big call.
Okay. We don't.
But against Tunisia, I think the Tunisian side that I watched in their first game in this tournament actually also showed a great deal of promise.
Yeah.
They are very fast.
Very good
they are tactically sound. I think what they lack is finishing.
Yeah.
You know, when they get to the final third, you don't see the urgency, the urge, you know, the hunger that you know, pretty much like what we lacked in the first half of our game.
I was going to say, that's your comment, cuts across African teams.
Absolutely.
Except Senegal.
Yeah, except Senegal. Also,
yeah.
then there's another issue that's also propping up in this World Cup and is glaring for all African nations.
Okay.
Every African team is conceding from set pieces.
Set pieces.
Did you remember what our coach said that we played the qualifiers?
Yeah.
We didn't concede a goal from corner kick. Now we've come to Europe. It is their best.
And this is the comment that is cutting across all pundits.
Time is not our friend.
Okay,
of course, we'll continue. We'll keep talking. But what are your final words for today's matches? And of course, what do you think about Nigeria coming out from this group? Your final words.
Okay,
Matt?
my final words. Today will be a great day for football. For the avid watcher like myself, I will enjoy myself, sit back and enjoy good football with Belgium, with Germany, and all the other games. And I'm sure Belgium will come out of that group flying. England will play tomorrow; they will also qualify. But for Nigeria, I think what is important is we must approach the Argentine game very carefully, and we must play cautious football.
All right.
Preferably, I would say counter, try to aim to hit on the counter attack. And I say this because with a 1-1 victory, I still think we will go through. Simply because of goal difference. Okay. I am optimistic that Croatia would beat Iceland. If Croatia even draws, if Iceland gets a draw and Nigeria gets a draw, we still go through because of goal difference. So we must play cautious football.
Okay, I would start with the Nigerian game on Tuesday. I would expect our boys to come out. They play with these guys in the various European leagues. I think they showed too much respect to Croatia. I also think they paid too much respect to Iceland, which is the reason why they were quite tentative. You know, they were tentative all through in the game against Croatia. They were tentative all through the first half in the game against Iceland. And so when they finally began to play like the aggressive, proud representatives of Nigeria, we saw Musa and Moses burst. You know, I remember it was a counter, it was a break. The first goal came from a break. It was
from the first header from our defense.
You know? And the second goal from Musa also came from a long pass from the way. So when our boys actually play from their hearts, you know, I think it was Pino that said, titled his song, "No Gods, No Glory." If our boys begin to show a lot more pluck in the game, no white, and stop respecting the white player, whatever. I don't want, you know, we will see that we will go far in this tournament. But if you go there and begin to really demonstrate some level of, respect for people that haven't actually ended,
then there's a problem,
There's a problem. For the game today, I love Tunisia. I mean, we are all Africans, but of course, Belgium. I wish you the best.
All right, your final words, Philip.
Well, my final words will be an appeal to the two gentlemen here. I'm happy that they are the closest voices to the governor's ear.
Yes.
Okay.
This is a money man. This is the media man. Please beg him, tell him, this state has the greatest human resources sports-wise in the world.
Thank you.
Please let us have a stadium.
Thank you. That's actually good. All right, thank you very much for coming on the program, Mac. Thank you very much. James, thank you very much.
Thank you,
Barry.
This is exactly where we're calling it a day on today's sports. We will be here again next week to bring to you what's happening around the sports. But we're not leaving you like that. We'll be leaving with some very beautiful, fun videos you would enjoy. Until next time, I am Iberi Uguna. Bye for now.